Welcome back to the National Collegiate Rugby Championship here in Boyd's, Maryland. I'm Abby Gustitis, here alongside Jeremy Ognall, and we are here in the Women's Premier Bowl quarterfinal. So both of these teams had the opportunity to play in the stadium earlier this morning. We have Bowdoin in the white on the right, and they'll be kicking off to Norwich on the left in the red and black. So Bowdoin had a tough game this morning. They ended up losing to Wheeling, whereas Norwich played AIC, who were the favorites for that top corner of the East bracket. And we are underway here, Bowdoin, kicking this off. Jeremy, what are we looking forward to?
Well, we're looking forward to the kickoff being caught, which it wasn't in this case, so bouncing ball's gone into touch. But, two sides here, it's interesting. I was watching them a little bit in their warm-ups, and I do have to say Norwich looks like the more professional outfit of the two. So that doesn't always mean something in warm-ups, but I'm looking forward to a good contest. But I do think Norwich probably has the upper hand, slightly better athletes.
I'd agree. And Norwich just historically have been a pretty strong program. Now, I haven't played collegiate rugby in a long old time, probably not as long as you have, if you did, but they were always a powerhouse.
Yeah, no, they definitely have a reputation. They're pretty well known across the rugby community. And even someone of my age and stage can actually remember, what the college environment looked like and how people performed. And I appreciate you and I starting off on some good banter today. So, again, what we're seeing here from Norwich is just some nice, patient build-up. They're just trying to create some opportunities. They've got the Bowdoin side very narrow. They have a bit of an edge opportunity here. Bowdoin's definitely losing a bit of defensive shape. They're pressing hard, but they don't have good shape. But Norwich is struggling to break them down.
Madeline Kosmowski with the collision there, just coming forward good contact driving, but Norwich just patient. They've been able to maintain this ball for almost 2 minutes. And there's the infringement from Bowden, not rolling. Looks like the referee has called time as there is a player down from Norwich. I didn't see what happened, but she's off to the top hand side of the pitch, potentially why they weren't quite cracking the defense with just 6 players.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't see what happened to her either. It's on the far side of the pitch from us, so sorry about that for any of the viewers. You probably had a better view than us, but it does look as though it's fairly serious. There's got 2 or 3 medical staff over there, and obviously a halt in play while they take care of her. I mean, just so everyone knows, rugby is a very physical, aggressive sport, but athlete health is job one, and as a coach, your job is to make sure your athletes are healthy. The referee's job is to keep the game as clean and healthy as possible. So even though I'm sure it's frustrating for the other players that they have to stand and wait, they do need to make sure their injured teammate is taken care of. That's the kind side of me, Abby, which you haven't seen very much of, but it does exist.
I wasn't certain it did, so it's good to know. And like you said, though, player welfare and safety is always paramount in this sport and all sport.
Yeah, with your history, Abby, and I truly mean history. What was the worst injury that you carried, either at the club level or at the national level?
Well, if I'm going back into the archives prior to all this, updated technology, but actually fared pretty well in my career. Nothing. Was quite lucky to stay out of the surgery room and stayed on the pitch most of the time.
Well, you must be one of the few, to be honest with you, because it does seem to happen to a lot of top flight athletes. And it's credit to you, obviously, the conditioning and shape you got yourself in. That definitely helps stave off the injuries.
Sleep is key.
Sleep, eat whole foods, mobilize, and lift heavy weights.
Peanut M&Ms considered a whole food?
It absolutely is.
Few.
As long as you eat them whole. Trying to fill in a little bit of airtime here. It looks like we're getting the athlete up on her feet very gingerly. I don't think she'll be coming back in the game unless it's a miracle. So Norwich will have to take one of their frontline starters out and bring in a replacement, and we'll see what that replacement's capable of doing. The athlete that went down there, now we can actually see the number there. So we do have number 21, Siobhan O'Donnell is the one who actually went down. I can't see where she's from. And we have the game back on, Abby.
Norwich looking to attack straight away. Everyone's had a little bit of a lung break, so shouldn't be an issue straight away. But this is the finisher that came in, making an impact. Getting her first touch was Kayleen Kumo.
Yeah, so, I mentioned a couple of minutes ago that, they didn't look as though they had the defensive shape, Bowden, but there it was very aggressive defense, and it results in a try. A quick turnover at a tackle, and going in for the first 5-pointer of the match.
How threatening Rugby Sevens is, that quick turnover, shifting the pill, and it looks like Malia Patello is in. So I love this strength shown by Rebecca Vacarao, and then just offloads it after keeping her feet to her teammate Patello, and then rounds the corner in just near the sticks, getting those first 5 points. I do not believe the conversion was good.
No,
but we have ourselves our first score of the match.
Yeah, you're right, Abby. The conversion wasn't good. Mia Doust was the one with the kick. It didn't go through, so we have 5-0, and Mia now has the ball in hand for the kickoff. It looks as though it's going to just get over the 10-meter line, and it's actually bounced into touch. So second kick in a row where we've had ball on the ground and a line out resulting.
As we see that AR raise her flag for the ball flying over, you can see the wind whipping it. So certainly a factor here down on field 12 in this Women's Premier Bowl quarterfinal.
Yeah, really nice clean out line out there off the top, straight to the halfback, and now they're looking to move the ball on the edge. Oh, and that's unfortunate. We have a knock on there by Sage. Unfortunately, Sage Tanamura McDonald was unable to hold on to that ball, and it looks as though now we're going to have a scrum down in Norwich's favor.
And the try scorer there in the center position, wearing number 13, Patello, she created that. She had the ball in two hands, drew in two defenders, looked to release her teammate who just was unable to hold on to it.
Yep, absolutely. And turn. Oh, here we go. Now we have a penalty for standing up in the scrum against Bowden. So Norwich once again will have opportunity to clear their lines and get into some Bowden territory, which they haven't been in.
Another penalty here. You see the referee reaching to his pocket. So it will be a yellow card. That's Bowden down to just 6 women on the pitch for the next 2 minutes. This will be an opportunity for Norwich to tie this one up.
Yeah, I didn't see the number. We'll have it for you in a second, but I think the result of just being too aggressive at the breakdown there by Malia Patello, and she got caught with her hands in the cookie jar, and the referee didn't like that one. So let's see how they can respond 7 against 6. Carry up the middle by Octavia Crawford. Not a lot of space there, so they're trying to regather themselves and trying to get back into their attacking shape.
Norwich skill set just letting them down here. A lot of balls going back shoulder or to the deck completely. And indecisiveness. You see how condensed they are. No one's really getting back and reloading, finding any alignment. And then there's just an unforced error from this side. Pitching that ball forward, gifting it back to Bowden, who still have just 6 on the field.
Yeah, you said something interesting there, Abby, about spacing, and I totally agree. And I was just watching that series of plays, and even though Norwich has a one player advantage, it didn't look like it because they were so condensed. It looked as though, in some ways, Bowden looked as though they had a bit of an edge on Norwich. They're going to have to clean that up if they really want to contend. Unfortunately, we have a knock on there by Rebecca Vaccarou. Oh, it wasn't called a knock-on, so they retained possession and still driving forward. You were right earlier, Abby. I do need to get my eyes checked.
A little bit of a speculator from Bowden, but ball hits the floor, and Madeline Kosmowski's able to pick it up. We saw her defending really well earlier in the first half, and then she carries hard there, and it looks like her teammate ends up in the try zone, all set up by Kosmowski.
Yes, Sage Tanamura McDonald, I think, is the one who's gone in the corner there. I think the offload was to her.
So Tanamura McDonald flings it out the back. It's initially cleaned up by Kosmowski. She keeps her feet, she looks, and then back to her feet was Tanamura McDonald, and then she dives over, barrels over that Norwich defender and extends their lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we just got the whistle for halftime. So it's 10-0 to Bowden. And my prognostication at the beginning, obviously proving as valuable as always, where I was totally wrong. Welcome back to the second half. We have Bowdoin against Norwich. Interesting match. I called early, Abby, and I know you'll bring this back up, so I'll bring it up first, that Norwich looked like they knew what they were doing more effectively, and it hasn't been the case. Bowdoin's dominated the game despite actually being down a player.
They had 6 on the pitch for 2 minutes, and there she is right there, Patello, getting into it early here after she had a 2-minute break right in front of us here in the sin bin. But an early error from Bowdoin gifts that ball back to Norwich, and ref will blow that up, I think, a series of knock-ons. So attacking opportunity for Norwich. If I was in their halftime huddle, I'm assuming they need to get a little more threatening attackers across the pitch. You have to use the width. They were making it entirely too easy for Bowdoin to defend them. Even now, look at where their winger is set up. She has 30 meters of space to her left. They need to pull that Bowdoin defensive line across.
Yeah, very insightful comments there. They actually now have another opportunity. They got a free kick at the scrum for an early engage, so let's see if they're able to strike. They're really clogging the middle probably a little bit too much. They really need to be looking to move to the end, and now they've spilled the ball outside the ruck, and Bowdoin has possession once again.
And then another penalty from Norwich. So Bowdoin playing quickly. They have the overload. They elect not to use it. Instead, straight up the guts.
Yeah, Stella Johnson with a really nice carry there. And then we've got another offload. And here we have number 13 going in again, it looks like. Patello, who just came back, fresh legs, dotting down under the post. So we have very much one-way traffic, just like I anticipated.
One way for Bowdoin, and that was a route one from Stella Johnson, using her size and physicality to break through the defensive line of Norwich. No one really wanting to put her to deck. And then Patello, she received that kickoff. She set the platform initially at the second half. Now, she did have an extra 2-minute break from her team, who put in a few hard yards while she was out in the bin.
Absolutely.
So making up for it.
Yeah, it was probably tactical by her to get the lungs back. There was good involvement there as well. Good linkage play by Madeline Kozmowski, who actually ended up setting up the try. So again, some really nice interplay between the Bowdoin players. A really nice step back inside there. Oh my goodness. Rebecca Vacarau stepped inside, and boy, was she just heading for the try line.
Rebecca Vacarau, she's been involved as well. Clearly has a lot of strength. Now have a look here. She looks up, sees the hips of all the Norwich defenders going to the touchline. It's a left foot step, a left foot fend that she barely even needs to throw, and she has the wheels to finish, and unfortunately doesn't have the boot to convert her own try.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Disappointing kick. They'll be disappointed. And as we know, in tight matches, the conversion, the 2 points can really matter. At the moment, I'd say it probably doesn't matter in this match with Bowdoin up by a solid 3 scores. And Bowdoin's tactic here is to go deep. And actually, it's worked fairly well. They've taken the ball all the way down to the try line. So Norwich has a long way to go to try and put a 5-pointer on the board.
I like that tactic for Norwich to go the distance. Bowdoin's defense has proved quite impenetrable thus far. So let's see if it will remain that way. And again, an unforced error. The forward passes, those are coach killers.
Absolute coach killers. I'm sure the coach of Norwich is pulling their hair out right now with the performance from our ladies. I think he or she would have expected a lot more from them, and they still have a couple of minutes, but they are definitely running out of time. I think if we see one more Bowden score here, we could probably say it's good night, Eileen.
That might be some reference given you were born a few years prior to me, but again, Bowden here threatening, making it look so easy to get those line breaks.
Yeah, really nice carry there by number 7, Sophie Gold. She really set up an opportunity that actually has now resulted in the score. So we'll have to, with your young eyes, we'll have you take a look and tell us which number that was, I think, Abby.
I think it was Sage Tanamura McDonald, but again, Patello ever in the mix. She dishes it out to Sophie Gold. Doesn't quite break both of those tackles, but brings them in. And then at the base of the rock, you see Sage Tanamura McDonald just spots the little half gap. No one at home for Norwich. And then 5 tries for Bowden in this match.
Yeah, very, very creditable performance. It's a disappointing showing by Norwich. Maybe they were just so deflated from losing the first round of the Premier Division when they were in the stadium. It is hard to bounce back from, and I think they're feeling the effects. So, with a minute and a half to go, this is definitely Bowden's win. I think Norwich just needs to try and get a score on the board to at least have some momentum going to the next game. And having said that, they knocked the kickoff on, and so now it's possession time to Bowden back in Norwich's 22.
Bowden have been camped down towards their 22 for most of this half, converting several of those visits. In the dying moments of this game, Bowden have the last set piece.
Some good pressure on the halfback there, but Bowden able to get the ball away and looking to move it to the edge again. Nice wraparound pass there, and they're once again out to Sophie on the edge. Sophie Gold still with a strong carry and retaining possession. We have a really good carry there. Really good carry. Once again by Madeline Kosmowski going in under the post. So that is all she wrote, I believe, Abby.
Kosmowski scores. She set a few up earlier on this time. She dots it down. It's just a comprehensive win for Bowden. And I think that will take us to full time with that final score being 32 points to 0.
Definitely one of the biggest spreads we've seen, I think, over the last couple of days. Very, very strong performance. And once again, as you said to me yesterday, I shouldn't be going and betting on things in Vegas because I get proven wrong every single time, which you've been very clear to point out. So,
and turns out you don't even need to go all the way to Vegas to be proven wrong. You can sit right next to me, and I'll keep you on your toes.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Field 12 here at the Collegiate Rugby Championship. We are on Field 12 with the Women's Premier Bowl quarterfinal. We have a cracking matchup ahead. It's Mount St. Mary's against St. Bonaventure, better known as the Bonnies. They'll be on your right-hand side in the white jerseys. And then Mount St. Mary's is in the navy blue. They'll be kicking off left to right. And I'm Abby Gustitis, and I have alongside me Jeremy Ognall.
It's absolute pleasure sitting alongside you again. I'm glad you identified the teams. The team in blue that says the Mount, I assume is Mount St. Mary's, and the Bonnies in white. So I think this should be a really good contest. What about you, Abby?
Agreed. Both these teams played in the stadium this morning and lost. And so they're looking for their first victory of the day. Mount St. Mary's had a tough matchup in the East against Army, and the Bonnies lost to New Haven.
Yeah, two very good sides that they lost to, so there's no shame in losing, but now it's about how do you recover, how's your recovery been between the matches to try and get back on the winning side of the scoreboard. Nice carry out on the edge there. That was Elizabeth Lyons from the Bonnies, trying to build some pressure, trying to get out of their end. Some nice possession here for the Bonnies, but they actually seem to be going slightly backwards. So they're really under pressure. They're still in the shadow of the goalpost, and so someone's going to have to run sort of a decisive line to get out of there, which didn't happen. We've actually got a turnover now, and the Mount have the ball. It's in the hands of their number 2, who looks like a dangerous runner, Olivia Woodward, very close to the goal line.
Woodward just marshaled, and a loose pass from the Mount. They do well to regather that. It looks like Anita Manglona holding on to that one. The Mount just inching closer and closer. See if they can move it through the hands, find some space, but Woodward spots a gap. She did look dangerous. She proves dangerous, and she opens us up here.
Yeah, really nice interchange there. Patient play, a couple of solid breakdowns, moved the ball out, and then obviously the try scorer knew exactly where she wanted to go, and very effective start from Mount St. Mary's. They'll be very happy. I'm sure their coach, some of the stuff they worked on post the last match is probably what they've been working on out here just now.
You see a replay there of Woodward just carving up, using her swerve, using ball in 2 hands to hesitate the D-line. Their coaching staff is Maggie Miles and then Palema Roberts, both really well-versed in rugby. Got the opportunity to play with Maggie for a bit of my career and lucky to play some touch rugby alongside Nike. Both really great rugby knowledge that they've installed into this squad.
Is Maggie Miles related to Jay Miles, who coaches the men's team?
The daughter of the very Jay.
That's excellent. Run a really nice program. I'm very familiar with the men's program under Jay Miles' phenomenal program. And so it's nice to see the continuity with his daughter getting into the coaching ranks.
Yep, she's been with the team, I think, 3 years now. Done well. They are a varsity program, pulling in some great talent in the staff as well as the players. And as we're back underway, the sun is creeping out here in Boyd's, Maryland, but Bonnies boot the ball. Mount have a good chase back. Riley Sibilia, but referee calling it back.
I'm not clear on what she was calling there. Could you advise? Do you have any clarity?
Some sort of offsides from Bonnies, so that ball will bring ball back to the Mount as they look to play quickly. After an offsides, they get a lot of territory gain from that.
Yeah, good strong carry again from Manglona, trying to hit the edge here, which they managed to do out to Olivia Woodward. And the flag is up in the corner. It looks as though Woodward is actually going to get into score again, but the flag's gone up by the assistant referee. She's obviously bundled into touch, so the Bonnies will have a line out, but a couple of meters from their line.
Getting taken into touch, a little inexperience there, frustrating for the team. And Bonnies opt for that overthrow. Now see if they can get outside of their own try zone. They elected for the kick last time. That might be a tactic they try again. But it's a penalty against the Bonnies. So Mount St. Mary's on the attack.
Yeah, tough to give a penalty away that close. And it looks as though the Bonnies, have defended their line. We have a knock on there, I believe. Oh, it's actually knocked by the Bonnies. It's hard to see. We have an official standing in front of us, but it looks as though the initial knock-on sign is knock-on by the Bonnies, so it will be an attacking scrum for the Mount. 5 meters, plenty of room to operate.
Mount St. Mary's, very threatening set piece here. I'm betting the scrum half might use this short side of the pitch. She's got about 20 meters to sneak down if that can be a steady scrum platform for her.
Yeah, and you called it exactly right. She ends up just powering over by herself, the dominant scrum, Bonnie's on their heels, and very impressive first few minutes, I think, by the Mount.
And that was Anita Manglona just putting the ball in, knows her opposite defender is on the strong side. There's no one on that weak side to mark. The hooker can't get out fast enough. That's just a heads-up play.
We have a different kicker this time. We've used Manglona's name a couple of times now. She's obviously a very solid rugby player, and they're going to rely on her heavily for continued momentum. But really great start by Mount St. Mary's, leading 12-0 with just over a minute to go in this first half.
They've certainly dominated the first 6 minutes of this match. Bonnies stuck in their own way with infringements and not able to get out of their own half.
Yeah, just watching Olivia Woodward right there, you can tell she's aggressive in the contact. She's trying to rip the ball out. She wasn't able to do it, but good work. And now, having said that, the Bonnies are exploding down the right side. What a phenomenal run we have from the Bonnies. She's going to go about 85 meters.
I believe Riley Sibilia with the answer, with the response for the Bonnies, streaking down that far touch line. We saw her combine, I believe, Elizabeth Lyons with the try, getting Bonnies right back in this action. And just a one-woman effort there.
Very much a one-woman effort. Right, exactly what they needed right before halftime. It puts the momentum totally in their court. And then it was added to, we had the conversion good. So Natalie Lamar, I believe it was, with the conversion right in front of the post. So now we have a much different scoreboard than just 30 seconds ago.
Beauty of Rugby Sevens, the end-to-end action. Don't take your eyes off this match. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the Women's Premier Bowl quarterfinal here on Field 12. I'm Abby Gustitis here alongside Jeremy Ognall, and we have the Bonnies, who with a late try came back and have 7 points against the Mounts 12.
Yeah, as we talked about right before the break, a real momentum changer, and let's see if the Bonnies can build on that. It looks as though we have a knock-on, so now we do have some Bonnies pressure, less than a minute into this second half. So let's see how they can strike here.
Early attacking opportunity for the Bonnies, looking to build off that late try in the first half.
So it looks like we'll have Kaylee Middaugh putting the ball in as the scrum half. A lot of space out to the left that the Bonnies can look to exploit. It doesn't look as though she's going to try and go blindside, because she is putting it in on the blind side. Let's see how they operate.
Powerful scrum from the Mount. looks like it's turned over, and Manglona with ball in hand again.
I think somebody might be in trouble here. What do you think, Abby?
That definitely would have been yellow card worthy, but referee doesn't go to her pocket, play on instead.
Yeah, and Taryn Gonzalez there with a really strong carry. But it looks as though I think we're coming back to the high tackle, and I'm wondering if the referee has something more than a penalty in mind. We'll have to see what she offers here. She's reaching for the sock, which is usually not a good sign. And yes, you were right. She actually did decide that she'd been too lenient, so the yellow card comes out, and now we have the naughty chair for Alice Robinson from the Bonnies. So they'll be down a player for the next 2 minutes.
And it looks like the Mount may make the power play right off the rip. It's Riley Sibilia. I gave her a try accidentally in the first half, but she earned it rightfully so this time.
Eerily similar, actually, to Bonnie's try right before halftime, just hitting down the right edge. I mean, you can watch her here. She's just streaking away. She's got a really good, athletic, long stride, and the Bonnies just were chasing air coming after her. So, as I say, similar, very nice 5-pointer. They're not able to convert that. So we're still within a 2-score game now. The Bonnies will be looking to receive and try and get back some momentum.
Remember, the Bonnies just have 6 players on the pitch, so there will be space, and Mount St. Mary's found that very quickly and add 5 to the score.
Yeah, unfortunately, not a strong kickoff there. Neely Denlinger, I think, with the kick, didn't go close to 10 meters. So the Bonnies will have a free kick midfield, still down a player, but obviously with an opportunity to try and operate in the Mount's half.
Natalie Lamar with some strong leg drive there. Keeping ball in hand. Bonnies need to play tight, but they need to be physical. See if they can win that gain line. But turnover to Mount St. Mary's. Great poach.
Yeah, Arabella Camby with the poach. And now all of a sudden the poach gets reversed. We have a penalty the other way to the Bonnies. So let's see once more. Quick tap and they're off and running. Pretty aggressive contest at the breakdown. The referee doesn't like the behavior of the Mount St. Mary's, and so now we have another penalty to the Bonnies.
Disagree with the call there. I thought that was a clean turnover, but hotly contested at the rucks. Both teams finding themselves isolated as ball carriers. They need to have their support.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that was a very harsh call, and we talked about it yesterday. Sometimes the bounce of the referee's whistle doesn't go your way, and it didn't in this case. So the Bonnies now have another opportunity to strike. And having said that, now we get a turnover at the breakdown the other way, so now the Mount has the ball back. This is very much like a game of ping pong, don't you think?
Keep your eyes on field 12. Don't blink, because Olivia Woodward could be coasting down the grass, extending the lead for Mount St. Mary's. No one chasing, no one back in behind to defend.
Yeah, the Bonnies definitely gave up the ghost on that chase. I think they're saving their energy. They knew they didn't have anyone capable of catching us, so you may as well let us score the 5 and try and get your breath back and go into the next phase. And they are now back to a full complement of players. So we do have the number 11, Alice Robinson, who was in the bin. She's now back on and ready probably to make up for her sins.
Repent she will, having to play 2 more minutes of sevens. It's not always the beautiful match out there. Sometimes it's quite grueling, and this exchanging of possessions is proving to be that.
And now we're coming back for the kickoff after Myers from the Mount. A nice conversion right in front of the posts. And so now we have a fairly dominant lead for Mount St. Mary's, 24-7 with just a minute and a half to go. So I told you I'm not going to make any more calls. Are you willing to make a call, Abby?
I think Mount St. Mary's do have this one. A minute is a lot of time for one, maybe 2 scores, but 3 scores is a challenge, but they are up for it as the Repentance is off to a flying start. Alice Robinson under the sticks.
Very impressive. I'm sure she was very down about sitting on the naughty chair for 2 minutes, and her team was, really struggling without her there. And she came back, bounced back, and a very, very impressive try, hitting the right edge and turning on the gas.
I love seeing players just back themselves, especially in 77 rugby. There's heaps of space, and you want to see that athleticism shine. And she has serious pace, just pins her ears back, streaks down right in front of us, gets 5.
Where does the expression "pins their ears back" come from? Do you know the genesis behind that, or is that kind of an old guy question
I know
like
you're
me?
still new to technology, but let me recommend ChatGPT to you.
It's actually Chat GPT,
You
not
can
GBT, but that's okay. I will take a look at that.
call me Gabby again,
Yes,
Jeremy.
we did have a couple of mistakes. I didn't necessarily take all my meds yesterday, but I'm fully loaded today and ready to take on the challenge ahead. Challenge of commenting on the matches, challenging of sitting alongside a legend in Abby Gustitis. And there we have the final whistle. We have the Mount with a very impressive win. Final score is 24-14. I think it was actually a little bit of a bigger win than that, but the scoreboard says 24-14. And I think that the Miles family should be very happy with their performance. Well, welcome back to the Collegiate Rugby Championship here in Boyd's, Maryland. We are still operating in the Women's Premier Bowl, and we have an interesting matchup here. We have Westchester to our right in the purple, and they will be playing against Adrian in the black and gold to our left. What are you anticipating here, Abby?
Westchester, for me, are the more dominant team. They have a lot of threats across the board. We actually played them early this morning in the stadium with a narrow victory against Navy. We pulled it out 10-0, but Westchester are a great rugby program, and Adrian had a tough matchup against one of the heavy favorites in this tournament of Brown. They suffered a heavy loss to them, but for me, Westchester will be the favorites coming into this.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's always hard to judge, Adrian's performance because Brown are so dominant. So they probably weren't able to show what they're really capable of. Against a slightly lesser side like Westchester, maybe they can. But nothing, against Westchester. I mean, losing 10-0 to a very, very strong and phenomenally coached Navy side is nothing to be embarrassed about. And so they'll be looking to build on a good performance against Navy, but try and get it into the winning column.
and Adrian are away, finding a line break, getting into Westchester's half.
Yeah, a lot good contest there at the breakdown. Definitely some pressure being applied by Westchester, but ball is able to be retained, and we've got hands on the floor there in the ruck, which is not allowed. So now, once again, we have Adrian trying to move the ball to the edge.
And very different conditions than these two teams played in this morning. It was raining. The ball was so slick. Now the sun is coming out. Ball's dried off a little bit. So hopefully we're seeing a little more fluid, comprehensive rugby and skill set than we did this morning.
Yeah, I think we are. And, we could see that Georgia Pennington in the, it looks like we've got the American flag scrum cap with a nice strong carry. We've got a couple of penalties in a row against Westchester, and we have a double blow on the whistle, which usually doesn't bode well, especially when the referee reaches into his pocket, into his sock, and he now has issued a yellow card to one of the Westchester players. I didn't see a number on that. Did you, Abby?
That looks like number 10 for Westchester, Brooke Crago. She is such a key player if that's her going off the pitch.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. We had a couple of consecutive infractions there, and they got punished. So now there's a really golden chance here for Adrian to put it in. They're only about a meter from the line. We have hands in the ruck there, but no, he actually called it as a knock-on.
So an error from Adrian just when they were looking threatening, looking to open this one up. So Westchester have the ball just on their own 5-meter line, and they are down to 6 players.
Yeah, we do have Brooks Crago in the naughty player chair. Actually, she's not sitting, she's standing just to try and keep loose. And her teammates are going to have to work hard for 2 minutes in the shadow of the goalpost to try and get out of here. They're moving the ball very well. Again, we have to recognize they are down a player. They're looking for space on the edge and some really strong carries. And one of the things that I like about this is they're just retaining possession and running down the sin bin clock.
Westchester have to keep their support in check. They have to back one another. There's not going to be any glaring holes in this Adrian defense, but they can maintain possession, kill the clock. They're look to do a little game management here, slow things down, get set up. That will also eat away at that yellow card.
Yeah, and this eats away at it too. They do have a penalty for offside. Adrian just encroaching a little bit too early. And so now they have even more opportunity to run seconds off the clock, but they don't tap the ball. And so now it comes back and it becomes an attacking scrum to Adrian. It looks like they're just inside the 22, and they'll be wanting to strike here and score, especially since they're up a player and probably don't have much time left on the sin bin to take advantage.
So you don't see that very often. She actually bounced the ball off her foot instead of kicking the ball, which is so marginal, and you don't see it called very often. But chaos and carnage around that scrum. So long arm penalty to Adrian.
Yeah, I would say, Abby, at the moment, Westchester definitely, let's hold that thought for 1 second. Strong carry to the middle of the post, and still Adrian retained possession. With a player advantage here, they should be able to find some space and get in. It's just short of the goal line as it stands.
Armani Brown can't quite get there, but Adrian still threatening the try line, and it looks like they can fall over Madison Williamson, 10 on her back, 5 points to her name. First try of the match.
Beautifully called, Abby. You were right. Madison Williamson, great score there. And what I was about to say before they went into their attack mode was it does seem as though Westchester's been a little bit on the wrong side of the referee. I think there's been a couple of questionable calls here, but as we keep talking about, referees are human, they're fallible, and, we see one thing, they might have a different picture of it. So, Westchester are going to have to clean up their discipline, and they do have the full complement of players right now, but they will need to make sure that they behave themselves. And Brooke Crago will certainly have to stay on the right side of the referee. Otherwise, her yellow could easily become a red.
And that's one thing as a rugby player, you have to adapt to the referee. They're the ones controlling this game. They want to play freely. And you see there's just a replay of Williamson's try. Adrian's first on the day.
Yeah, first on the day. And as we talked about at the beginning, you can't really judge a book by its cover from that first game, can you? I mean, again, we know how good Brown are, 5-time, I believe, reigning champions. And so I think they've taken some anger and venom from that first loss, and they're actually displaying it right now against Westchester.
Westchester retained the kickoff beautifully, set a nice midfield platform, and Craigo is into the action straight away.
Good work on the ground there to retain possession. It looks like they're looking for space outside. They do have some athletes, so, Adrian definitely can't give them an inch. And right now they're starting to give them a bit of a mile. Definitely space out left here, Abby, if they can hit the edge. Just turn on the gas here.
Lily Road connecting with Alyssa Miller, but ball just goes forward. Disappointment for Westchester as they were inching closer and closer to the Adrian try line, but her teammates consoling her, saying we got this next one. We get a 2-minute break to recover, and then we have 7 more minutes to play. Welcome back to the second half of this Women's Premier Bowl quarterfinal. We have Adrian on the right-hand side of your screen in black, and they'll be kicking off to Westchester in the purple on your left. Right there is Craigo from Westchester on your screen. She got done with the yellow card in the first half, and Adrian capitalized on that, getting the only try of the first 7 minutes, having the score stay 5-0.
Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning. Definitely, we saw Westchester as the favorites. They lost a very competitive match to your team this morning, but they're really making some fundamental mistakes. There's a handling error on the edge there that results in the scrum. So Cameron Snow just took her eyes off the ball a little bit, and it results in the turnover. And now we have Adrian possession in a good attacking space with Samantha Krozik putting the ball in at the scrum.
And because this scrum is so close to the near touchline, they have the entire width of the pitch. Let's see if they can work something. But great pressure from Westchester and a huge turnover for their side.
That was incredible. Cameron Snow, who just knocked the ball on, not only did she snag her opposite number, she stole the ball. And now we have number 6 from Westchester, Ty Hickey, going in, exploding in for the score.
And Ty Hickey is one to keep your eyes on. She's certainly one of those players that oppositions will scout when they play Westchester. threatening with ball in hand, a playmaker, but also has the speed to back it up with.
Yeah, very impressive the way she ran. You could tell she's certainly not related to Gavin Hickey of Navy men's fame, but Ty Hickey is definitely making a name for herself at this tournament with a score like that. I'm assuming you probably saw some things from her this morning when you played them.
A great player, and one we talk about to our girls as we're about to prep for a match against Westchester. Their number 10 and their number 6 are their integral playmakers, Crago and Hickey.
And that's what we've seen so far. And again, you called it, Crago. 2 minutes sat out in the sin bin and brought a lot of energy when she came back on.
Some solid defense thus far from Westchester, and Hickey with a clean poach, and she snags it away. She snipes it, and then she spots the try line, and she gets in for a double in less than a minute, it seems.
Yeah, we do have a question about the grounding. I think the referee is going to go talk to his assistant referee to see if Hickey did ground the ball effectively. So we'll have to see what comes out of this discussion. But what an impact she made. Looks as though the score is good.
Arm goes up, 5 points added to the tally. That's her own personal tally as well as Westchester's in this match. And Westchester seemed to have found their groove.
They definitely have found their groove. You know, Hickey with the Kaniki, beautiful score. And now we have a very different contest that we did at halftime.
It was just a great body position, even better timing when she goes in to poach that ball. She knew her teammate made a great chop tackle, and that is what presents those opportunities to a team to steal that ball back.
Absolutely. So, Adrian, that's a beautiful high kick, very contestable. Adrian, take it well. They've just got to get away from their 22. They've been pinned pretty deep for most of this half. Very nice, solid tackle in midfield by Crago. Looks as though we've got a penalty, though. Once again, offside infraction by Westchester will put them on their heels a bit.
Adrian will want to move quickly. Just 3 minutes left. They do need 2 scores. But the breakdown work is truly impressive at this stage. They get that strong low body position, and they are off and away. Crago ever in the mix. She finds Snow. They combine for another try, and Westchester are just having themselves a time.
They really are having a time, and you called it. You used some names a couple of minutes ago, and the teammates have really set the standard, you know, with Crago and Hickey. But beautiful support line there by Snow to finish the job. And you know, again, Westchester, I think maybe they got a bit of a rollicking at halftime.
Tony, their head coach, would have definitely been disappointed in that, but he'll be pleased with their performance in this second half. And Snow actually quick taps it. She brings the ball back to the mark. It's good rugby awareness and knowledge. She feeds one of the leaders of the team and then hits that wraparound support line, and she gets the reward.
So just under 2 minutes left. We have a 2-score game. 2 converted tries actually needed even to tie it up. So Adrian needs to start working hard and working fast to be able to compete for the next 2 minutes. And having said that, there's a knock-on in a very loose contact. And once again, the ball goes to the Westchester team with an opportunity to probably close this one out, Abby.
Westchester, for me, have sealed the deal already, but Adrian will want to keep them out for one additional score. But this second half sort of separated these teams. You see Westchester, they're well-versed in game management and getting themselves back in, whereas Adrian is that classic little inexperience where they come out with a bang, but they're just unable to hold on to that momentum.
Yeah, really well put. I mean, Adrian come across as scrappy, whereas Westchester come across as, you know, very well coached, very solid executors. And as I say, whatever their coach said to them at halftime, obviously has worked because they're playing a whole different type of rugby.
It's a little bit of a wrestling match in the try zone, but I think that ball is down. Grego adding her name to the score sheet this time. She wouldn't have wanted just that yellow card accolade for this match.
Yes, we've got to the point now with her performance where we can move on from the sin bin. A really good carry here. I think she went through 2 or 3 different Adrian players and even had the strength to ground the ball, wrapped up by 2 or 3 Adrian players intent on stopping her. So we're pretty much at the end of the game now. I think with this conversion, we might actually have the final whistle. Let's see if there's one more play. The conversion is wide, and according to the referee, it does look as though we have time for one more play, but there will be a slight delay because we have an Adrian player down in the try zone, one of the players who I think tried to stop Craigo and came out on the wrong end of that contest.
Adrian player being assisted off the field. We have our final substitutions coming in for both sides. There seems to be one more kickoff, but I think Westchester will be very pleased, happy with this last 7 minutes, and they'll look to build on this for tomorrow as they continue their journey towards that bowl.
Absolutely. As we talked about, a disappointing loss, again, to a good side this morning, but they probably weren't expected to beat a very strong Navy program. And so now they definitely will have their sights on winning some silverware before the end of this weekend. We should probably only have one more play in the game. Having said that, the kick is not going to go 10 meters again. So Adrian will have one chance at midfield just to try and put some points on the board and give them some momentum going forward to the next round.
Adrian looking to get a consolation try. Backwards, says the referee. Adrian needs to maintain the breakdown. We know how threatening Westchester are, contesting every single one. But a few offloads, not all going to hand, but possession still with Adrian as they march down the pitch.
Some really nice link play by Adrian, and I'll be disappointed they didn't start showing this a few minutes ago. Now we have another contest on the floor and another penalty against Westchester for not releasing. Yeah, loose knock on there, loose handling. It looks as though the referee's keeping the game alive here. I think he's calling them for not 10. And now we have another card. I'm really not sure what that card was for, but the referee, another offside, probably repetitive offsides. So we have another Westchester player coming over to the sin bin chair by us. So maybe Adrian can finish on a high by moving the ball to the side and taking advantage of the numerical advantage they have.
I think we have almost all 14 players within about 5-meter channel right now. There's certainly space on the pitch, and another penalty. Adrian looking to capitalize, but they're going route one.
Yeah, I think Adrian needs to get the head up and look where space is. And then we have another turnover, and now we have a breakout. And we have a really good cover tackle there. But Westchester retained possession. Looks like Craigo, I think, has the ball again. And they're still moving. They're not willing just to put it touch. They've decided they want more. And they've got more going through with the lady you called earlier, Ty Hickey.
Hickey is in for a hat trick. She takes the scrum cap off. She shows a bit of flair with the hair.
I love the rhyming there. I love the rhyming, flair with the hair. And what a way to finish the game. Hickey, probably the player of the match, I would think, from Westchester, closely followed by Craigo. And I'll give it to Hickey because she's on the pitch for 2 minutes longer than Craigo. And she can't finish with the conversion, but a really solid win for Westchester.
Well done to Westchester. That's a wrap. Them 29 points to 5.
Well, welcome back to Collegiate Rugby Championship here on Field 12. I'm Jeremy Ognall, honored to sit alongside Olympian and all-around legend Abby Gustitis, and we are now going to be commentating on the Women's Premier Bowl between Frostburg and Southern Nazarene. Again, both had difficult losses in the stadium earlier this morning, and they're both looking to bounce back in what's now a beautiful sunny day here out on the pitch. What do you think, Abby?
The weather has certainly taken a turn for the positive, especially for rugby sevens. We want to see that ball move. We want to see the athleticism and skill sets of these women. Now, Frostburg are in the more dominant black jerseys on the left-hand side. They lost to Penn State this morning. They're kicking off to Southern Nazarene in the red, and they had a hard-fought match against Queens, who are actually the heavy favorites in that lower end of the West bracket. But for me, Southern Nazarene will be the team to watch. They have a few absolute cracking players, and an early error from Frostburg will give that possession to Southern Nazarene at the middle.
This is one of the things that teams just have to clean up. And I'll tell you, my team had a problem with this yesterday. You've got to get those kickoffs going 10. If you don't, just a free possession to the opposition, which actually now has gone back to Frostburg because, again, the player didn't tap the ball correctly at midfield, which is a minor infraction, but it is an infraction. And so what that does, it gives a scrum opportunity now to Frostburg to see what they can do. They have to clean up the basic mistakes.
And that's just something so simple that's within your control. But ball back for Frostburg against a strong defensive back line of Southern Nazarene.
A little, creative wraparound there, not well executed though, resulting in a knock-on. And so now we have, Southern Nazarene back with possession with a very, very strong-looking pack. I mean, they've brought some athletes to bear here to really put some pressure and get solid set-piece victory.
Yeah, you have Madison Matier with ball in hand, but keep your eyes on number 13. She's at the second hand position, Talesi Uatafe. She is such a ball player.
And that's the thing with you, Abby. I love the fact that you know the women's game so well. You talked about her before the game. You just called her right now. And as soon as she got the ball in hand, I'm not familiar with her as a rugby player, but as soon as she got the ball in hand, you could just tell she knew what she was doing and where she wanted to go to. And there was absolutely no stopping her.
No one from Frostburg wanted to put a shoulder into her. And not that they even had the opportunity. She spotted the gap. It was just enough space, but she has the wheel. She has the awareness to keep that ball in two hands, hesitate the defense, and back herself. And when they're so intentional, she shifts the ball back to two hands to throw the dummy to keep that wing defender out, and then just jets down the pitch here.
Jets down is exactly right. Unfortunately, the kick is missed. Another area where we could see some cleaner play. These conversions do matter. So it's right, 5-0 right now. And we do have a penalty against Southern Nazarene. So once again, Frostburg will have possession. Let's see if they can start to clean up their possession a little bit more. Looks like they're going to put the ball into touch and try for a line out there. Didn't get the distance with that kick, maybe 10 meters. But the good news is they did get it into touch, so we'll have a line out and let's see if they can get a dominant lift here and maybe clean possession to the hooker to get the ball out.
Line out's always a risky decision because they're not necessarily 100% guaranteed. You have to get the throw straight,